Excellent. So, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever it is that you're listening from. Welcome back to the Think2Thrive podcast. As always, my name is Adrian. I'm the host of the show, and today I'm absolutely honoured to have with me a man by the name of Ammar Akhtar, and Ammar is the founder and CEO of Final Rentals. Which anybody who knows me, I do come from a car rental background. Um, and I know Ammar now for a couple of years, and he's doing great things based over in Cardiff and Wales. So, Ammar, without any further ado, please give us an introduction to yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, absolutely. Adrian, thank you very much, first of all, having me on the podcast. It's my honor, really. So, as you mentioned, my name is Ammar. I'm the founder and CEO of Final Rentals. So, we are a car rental brand that is helping local car hire companies, let's say, go digital, have a brand, have a global presence. We started in Dubai almost 6 years ago. And since then, we have expanded to more than 50 countries in the last 6 years. So, the mission is to help a local car hire person, entrepreneur who understands car rental, works from the till or from their fantastic location, but they don't understand the buzzwords, the CRMs, the payment gateways, and all those jargons. And that's where we come in as a brand that is digital brand that is helping them to grow their business and basically have a voice and also have a face on the internet.
Excellent. You and I both know the car rental space is it's a phenomenal industry. Really, it's a very interesting industry and very diverse. Had you always worked in the car rental industry, or is it something that you came to, as you say, 6-7 years ago when you founded Final Rentals?
So that's a great question. So I'm in this industry. It's been almost 21 years. Wow. So my first job I come from Pakistan. So I grew up in Pakistan, studied engineering, and I moved to Dubai in 2007. So my first job as an engineer, as a software engineer, was to build a website for Budget Rent a Car. So Budget was a new brand at that time, coming into the Middle East as a franchise, if you want to call it. And I was this young kid who was given this project or assigned this project to build a website that looks like Budget International or looks like Expedia, for example. And for me, that was this one project, that started. And for some odd reason, I just got into this industry. I started loving it, started enjoying it, worked on the project, and fast I've worked with multiple brands in the Middle East, whether it's Budget in Bahrain, Budget in Oman, Dollar Thrifty Automotive Group. I've worked with Europe Car Enterprise, Superprice, Payless, you name it. I've worked with them. So I've worked in the industry for almost 17 years, and after 17 years of working in the industry as you mentioned, as an expert, on this field, one fine day I resigned and I started Final Rentals.
Wow, well, what a journey! I mean, I thought I worked for a few different brands, but you you definitely beat me. And most of the people I know as well, 2 or 3, I suppose, different brands is normal. But I think you've named nearly all of them, Ammar. So, what if we take a step back? Let's say before Final Rentals and before even your car rental journey started, you grew up in Pakistan. What was life like in Pakistan for young Ammar?
So I would say I grew up in much better times than what we have right now. So when I was growing up, let's say when I was 18, 19 years old, I was finishing my engineering. At that time, we had President Musharraf, who was ruling Pakistan. He was spending a lot of money on R&D and tech. We had Pakistan Software Export Board, helping entrepreneurs like me to go out, learn new things. So I had the opportunity to basically start my business in Pakistan. We used to make mobile games, Java games, even before the App Store era. So we used to make mobile games for Nokia phones, Symbian, Nokia phones. So that was my first business that I sold. So I sold that business to a local company in Pakistan called the Softflux Group. So I sold that business. That was my first ever exit when I was 19 years old. And then with that money, I moved to Dubai.
When did you? If you sold it at 19, when did you start?
I started when I was 17.
Oh wow!
So that was my first ever business, basically.
That's pretty amazing. So, as I was just trying to think back to when I was 17, I was too busy doing other things. I wasn't being an entrepreneur and I wasn't starting a business. So what drove you to that? What was the because I always think that there's always something. There's a why. I know you probably know Simon Sinek, and I
Yes.
love his book Start with Why.
Yes.
What was your why? Why did you want to start a software company at 17?
So my why was very clear. So I come from a very humble background. We were seven siblings. I'm the eldest, and I was running the family with my mom at that time. Father was traveling. He was out in Saudi working there. He was not able to send us what we needed in terms of run the home. So I was working. I was doing odd jobs. I would teach JavaScript, HTML in institutions and make some money out of that. And I realized very quickly that our problems were so many that we need. So a salary will not. So a salary will not really solve our problems. I
Yeah.
have to do something that makes much more. Let's say, bigger. Money incomes. Because we had so much debt on us, and we were seven siblings. My mom was struggling. I saw the lady struggle. I said, how can I help her?
Mhm.
So it was very clear to me from the very beginning as a kid that if I will not run something else or run a business, it will not solve our problem. So I had no other choice. And also on the academic level also. So I was failing my exams. I was failing in chemistry, physics, biology. I was failing in those exams, and I was getting almost 100 marks in computer engineering in programming. So I thought that was my piano to play, and I should play this piano as long as I can to make more money.
Cool. That's there's I suppose that's a great why, but I think quite often the necessity, the need, that it has to happen. We talk quite a lot about sometimes when somebody starts something that they burn the boats, they burn the ships, and it's all or nothing. It has to work, and
Yes.
and that can have a huge impact on people and can really sort of help them to motivate them. Um, uh, but I wonder quite often. You're the eldest of seven. How close to your age are your other siblings?
So I'm 41. I turned 41 yesterday.
Oh,
It was
happy birthday!
Oh, thank you very much. And the youngest of the lot are like they're 27.
Okay. So it's not that huge a gap
I would say
between the
yeah,
lot of you. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
My father comes from a family of seven as well, but he said it was like there were two families because there was himself, a brother and a sister, or two brothers and a sister. By the time the other kids came along, he was already gone off to secondary school. So
All
he
right.
only
Yeah.
really got to know them after they finished school, really. So it was kind of
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. So for me, it's a bit unique because my youngest are actually twins. They are twin brothers. They are the youngest, of course, same age.
yeah.
But I think we have done really well, with my mom and then of course father. I think we have done really well coming out of those difficult times, and we have really now, done well in terms of bringing our family to Europe or to UK, and all of them are doing really well. I'm really happy how we have been able to build, or let's say rebuild, the family.
Yeah. And has the whole family moved with you then as far as Cardiff, or is there still family back home in Pakistan?
So we still have some family back home in Pakistan. My sisters are married in Pakistan. They were living here, but they're married in Pakistan. I'm based in Cardiff, and others are Italians and Germans. So they live in Italy and Germany.
Oh, no way, no way. That's that's it's a bit different, I suppose, from where you all grew up.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and what there's always, I find, some sort of a spark, other than the necessity that you had, but that realization that you said you came up with, whereby that a wage wasn't going to be enough. What what
Yes.
what sparked that? Because that's unusual at that age. There's a lot of people not until they're in their 20s and maybe even their 30s before they realize that, well, hang on a second, uh, one wage isn't going to do it, and I need to look at something different. How did that come about?
So I think that was a very strange era in terms of, if you're a, let's say, tech professional, like a young tech professional. That was a different era. You're talking about the early stages of, let's say, Microsoft, became popular, Google, Yahoo, these search engines, they were quite popular, and tech was the big thing at that time. Oracle was quite new. If you want to make money, you have to become an Oracle certified professional. I'm talking about way back, right? So I was always thinking how I can really jump forward in terms of economic, or let's say socio-economic barriers. There were so many out there. So that was the thinking really. It was never really about, for example, initially it was never really even about running a business, right?
Mhm.
So as I say, your first boss is very, very important, right? So I was doing an internship in Microsoft in Pakistan, and my boss was from Ivy League University,
Mhm.
University of Pennsylvania, Wharton Business School, and
Mhm.
he was a fantastic guy, Pakistani American, fantastic person. So he was like, listen, you cannot solve your problems by having this internship stipend.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
think like an entrepreneur, and at that time I didn't even know what was the word entrepreneur. How how to spell this thing? What is it? What's the thing entrepreneur? So I think he was influential in let's say maturing my mindset towards life, towards finances, towards money. I think I still meet him, by the way, and
Mhm.
he was phenomenal in coaching me in that way. He didn't need to. I was just an intern among 60 other interns. For some odd reason, he sort of saw something in me, and he said, I'm gonna make you understand that you are coming from this very below poverty line conditions, and son, the wage will not just will not help you alone.
Mhm.
You need to do something else.
That's phenomenal. Because there's out of a lot of the people that I've interviewed, there's always seems to be at least one person. For some people, they're very lucky, and there's multiple people. For a lot of people, it's a family member, whether it's an older brother or sister or a father. Quite often, the father figure more so than a mother figure. Unfortunately, it'd be. Um, but I mean, I think what the similarities, or the consistency that I've always sort of come across is a work ethic quite often comes from the mother,
Yeah.
sort of the entrepreneurial thinking or something like that, or the thinking big, or looking for more, quite often comes from a male, I say father figure, mentor or something like that. The quite a few of the people that I've interviewed over time, the mother is the person who sort of held the family together and made everything work and instilled that sort of hard work mentality in people. Um, cool. So Microsoft. So after Microsoft, then you realized that you were going to need to do more than just have a 9 to 5. Um, and that's at the age of 17, 19, you sold your first company.
That's right.
Um, can I ask you, was it for a significant amount of money, or was it?
I would say in those days it was a very good amount. For example, if you are converting in today's let's say currency, it was almost like $1 million. If
Okay.
you want to convert that money today, right? So it was a good amount for someone who is just 19 years old, and who is now looking to, let's say, upscale his life, or move out of the country and become an expat entrepreneur. So it was a very good exit for me. Of course, I did not know that it was an exit at that time. For me, it was like I sold the company, but yeah.
Yeah, I suppose those terminologies are I've elaborated a lot over the last couple of years. So at the age of 19, with $1 million in your pocket, I mean, I know there's one way that a 19-year-old with $1 million in their pocket could go, but you obviously went a slightly different way. So I mean, to have built something, to have gotten the reward for it, but then to still be hungry to go forward. Talk me through that a little bit. Where does that mindset come from?
So moving to Dubai was a bit of a, I should say, revelation, and also it sort of changed me as well for some odd reason. I think coming from such below poverty line life, and then having this much money in your bank, sometimes sort of corrupts you
Hmm.
sometimes,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that is also needed sometimes. You need to learn the hard way. So I was still very, very talented engineer, gifted, God's gift, like, in terms of coding and all those things. But I think I became a bit more erratic in my approach towards life. I was spending money on odd things. I would party 5 days a week in Dubai and do all those, let's say, I would call them not so great, let's say, wilder things. So that money didn't really last, to be honest. I mean, it was out of the bank in less than 3 years, to be honest.
Wow. That's what living that life without the money coming in on the other end does, isn't it? It drains it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What's life like in Dubai? It's a place I've never actually been to. But
Dubai is this incredible place. It sort of makes you dream big, and of course, it's not cheap. It's expensive to live in there. Imagine a Las Vegas without the slot machines. That's what Dubai is, right? So again, beautiful place. You can grow there. You can become very rich in there. It's dynamic, but it is very challenging. It takes a lot from you as a person. You need to be right up there. You need to sometimes fake it till you make it, and all those things, right? So Dubai was great. I learned a lot from Dubai. All that I've learned about car rental so far, all that I've learned about life, money, being commercially groomed, and all those things, it happened in Dubai. I learned so many lessons in there, that place.
Mhm. So at let's say 19 to 2022, something like that. So you became an employee again. So you went from being an owner entrepreneur
Right.
to being an employee.
That's right.
I know that's something that can be difficult for people to
Yes.
move away from that freedom that you have as being an owner. How did that affect you, or what do you think of
Well,
that?
initially it was like a slap on the face, because when I was running my business, of course, I was 17, 18 years old. In Pakistan, I had 21 employees in there in Karachi, right? I had a nice office. I was driving nicer cars. I was having fun, to be honest, right? So when I moved to Dubai, and I thought my life will actually elevate itself and I'll be on the next level. It didn't really happen. I was on a visa, on a work visa, all of a sudden in 3 years' time, in 22. So when I was 22, so again, you need people who sort of groom you and make you understand that you need to sometimes step back and just let it sink in, and then do your thing. One thing that didn't really change in all these stages of my life, for some reason, my natural talent of, let's say, programming, engineering, all those things, that sort of never changed. Like, I was still doing things that a programmer will take a month, I'll do it in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I was a gifted programmer. I was a very gifted engineer, right? So I met this new guy who came down from the UK, from Hastings, Tony Sean Hinder. He came. He joined Budget Group, and I met him. He was the GM of the operations, and he met me, and he said, "Son, let's go and let's go for Costa." And he said, "Listen, don't think that you are an employee here. Think of yourself as a CTO, or as an entrepreneur, tech entrepreneur, and you're building something that will build your life, because car rental is an old industry. We need people like you who think sort of differently, who can build these things, because these things are nascent, these things are new, right? So you can, so it's an opportunity, so treat it like an opportunity." So I was literally spending 13 hours a day in their data center. I still have those pictures with me in the rack space. Yeah, and I built solution after solution for Budget in the UAE, built their loyalty program from the ground up, built their legacy car rental system RMS called Armada from the ground up, and I did the whole cloudifying thing, cloudified it completely, even before the Amazon AWS,
Yeah.
even before those days, right? So yeah, it was a great playground for me, and Tony and the team, they gave me whatever I needed. They gave me as many rack spaces I wanted. They gave me all the CPUs that I wanted. They did everything for me. They gave me the best people that I could work with as my assistants. So that was like, imagine an Elon Musk in a Tesla factory. So it was almost like that.
You were in heaven.
Yeah, in heaven, and then I came back. I was more down to earth. I wasn't really partying anymore. I wasn't really drinking that much. I was much more disciplined in my approach. And that was the time when I started thinking like an innovator. Like, I'm an innovator. I'm an inventor.
Mm-hmm.
I should not see myself as a commercial out and out, just a salesman, right? I'm an inventor. I've created something, should be proud of it, and then talk about it. So so it was like a complete transformation of me as a person.
Okay, so somebody who's identifying a let's say an issue, a problem, yeah, I'm working out a way to fix it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And when we launched Budget website phase 2, within the first 8 hours, website went down because of the very high traffic, because it was running on a small, let's say, cheaper hosting. So then they called me and they said, "Ammar, what should we do about this?" And I'm like, "Wow, that's a great problem to solve." And talking about, in those days, nobody knew about scaling, how to scale a web application. apart from the big guys like Googles and Yahoos and all those guys. So I was the first person in the UAE to actually build something at scale. You're talking about, I don't know, 500,000 tokens per hour and all those things. So I think yeah, it was a great phase of my life. I was really transforming what I have learned in Pakistan to the next level.
Mm-hmm. And but there was there all the time you were learning, was there this itch going on inside of you that you wanted to do something for yourself again, or how did that come about? Because it sounds like you had exactly what it is that you wanted. You had the freedom to do whatever it is that you wanted to do. You had the people with you and the resources. So where did the itch to be your own boss again come from?
So to be honest, the itch was not really to be my own boss, but to really just observe the industry, right? So I was observing the industry really. I didn't think about starting final rentals, to be honest, up until 2012, right? And then I stayed with it. I slept with the idea up until 2018, 2019. I didn't launch final rentals, but honestly, when I was building these websites and applications for these big guys like Avis and Budget and $50, I used to go and give talks, deliver talks in different places in the industry, in the UAE only, in GCC, Oman, and all places. And I met a lot of local car hire companies, and they used to come to me and they say, "Why don't you solve something for us? Why don't you help us do something?" I'm like, what can I do for you guys? I mean, I don't understand. What do you mean? You already have a system and that's it. No, but we don't have any bookings. We don't have any bookings from any other channel on the platform. We're relying on the walk-ins. You can do something for us. Okay. So I did some research and I realized that 88% of all the business that happens for car rental happens on the OTA. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. What about Adrian's car rental in Jamaica? What will he do if he has 60 cars? Those cars will remain on the road, or will they remain in the yard? What will happen to those cars? So that's when the idea came of, when I got the idea of final rentals in my head. But then I still slept with it for like 6-7 years, just to make sure that what I'm thinking is correct, is right way of thinking. And then, yeah, one fine day, then I launched Final Rentals.
Mm-hmm. And it's an unusual name, Ammar, Final Rentals.
Yes.
Tell us about the name.
So I still remember many of my friends who were working with these big agencies, with the big ad agencies. They said, "Listen, you will fail. This word will never take off. Nobody will buy from you. Nobody will rent a car from you. The word final means death. I'm dying. It's my last window. It's like final, and I'm dead." So how I got to final was, when I was working with these companies, I had access to a lot of data, including the data of, let's say, what the customers are saying. Of course, it was all anonymous data, but the word final will always pop up. So many customers say the price was not final. This was not final. I thought this was final. I thought this was already finalized. So the word final will beep in your head. If you do a Control H or a Control R, or Control F, you'll find the word final a lot in those conversations.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, the customer is thinking that, oh, this should be final because it's a car rental. Everything is whatever I've seen online is final. That's fine, and I'm going to pay this much money on the counter. So the word final was actually inspired by the car renters, not by me, to be honest.
That's a really cool story. I love it when a name means something. It's you come across a lot of the time the name of a company doesn't actually mean anything, and it's just been a word plucked from the sky or whatever. But when it means something. Yeah,
and you will not believe. I still have these conversations even until today. There are people who come to me and they say, "Listen, Ammar, this word final, right, isn't going to work." I'm like, "Listen, just go on ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT what are the top car rental franchise programs in the world. It will tell you Avis, Budget, 50, Europe, Enterprise, Final Rentals, right?" So I'm sorry, I can't change it anymore. It's done. You've
been training ChatGPT to do that, Ammar, have you?
I'll be completely honest with you. I haven't.
I'm only joking.
And I was shocked when I got this data. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Because then I realized that ChatGPT 4 is actually crawling data on the web. So if you search on Google car rental franchise program, we are on page 1. So I think it's taking data from that keyword basically.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting name. And so what you do for the listeners who maybe are not totally familiar with the car rental space. So Final Rentals is essentially a franchisor or an affiliate, and you also then provide the tools to the independent car rental company who signs up with you to be a franchisee of Final Rentals. Is that a
That is,
good way to put it?
yes, absolutely. That's spot on.
And what they benefit then, obviously, from being connected with Final Rentals is the connections that you have automatically with all the different OTAs and all that sort of stuff, so that they can increase the amount of bookings that they get through
Yeah,
being affiliated with you.
yeah, absolutely. So on average, a location that had no global revenue before joining our platform are making anywhere between £1,000 to £250,000 a month using Final Rentals.
Oh, wow. It broke up to £250,000 a month from using Final Rentals.
That's right.
That's
Yes.
that's pretty big. I wouldn't mind having some of that. It's unusual though. Do you still, as you get into different markets, Ammar, some sort of undeveloped markets around the world? I was chatting with somebody quite recently in the Balkans, and they have a small car rental company. I say small, but it's normal for there. It's between 60 and 100 cars,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they're running everything on a spreadsheet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't have what we call a PMS, a property management system, or a car rental software. Do you come across a lot of that in your travels?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of that. And in Balkans, please allow me to say, is it Albania or is it some other, did I guess it right? And and
Yes.
and yeah, you will find so many of those, especially in the Balkan region, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's where we come in as car rental tech organizations who have a thought process about this, and we are here to educate our partners and even someone who's not our partner actually, always happy to have a chat and make them understand that running on Excel sheet is all right. It's ad hoc. It's more of an ad hoc way of doing business, but this will never help you scale your. If you're happy with those 48 cars in the yard, okay, that's fine.
Mhm.
But if you want to see them as 96 cars in the future, you're not going to get to 96 cars. I'm sorry, because you're not really managing your resources correctly.
Mhm, mhm. And so you've developed and sorry to say, sounds like a Spanish Inquisition, as we say. You've developed the software that you would allow then your franchisees to use. So that sort of rental software, management software, all that sort of stuff. You've developed that in house yourselves.
That is correct. So one thing that is, I would say, unique about Final Rentals is that we do not use a single third-party component or a system. We do everything in-house in our R&D department. So we have developed a reservation system. If someone already has an RMS, if you want to call it, they can use our reservation system, cloud-based system that will run on top of their system,
Mhm.
or if they want everything, including our RMS, we have an RMS. Of course, it is not as comprehensive as any other RMS in the field. Like for example, Rentio, Wheelsys, they're very very huge systems. My RMS is designed with Apple mentality, with the,
Mhm.
with the minimalistic approach to business. Whatever is needed, you can use it. Then we also have our AI based tool called that runs on top of our RMS, that is giving them AI based suggestions based on their fleet and however they're running the business. Then we also have something called Rate Magic, that is scrolling all the platforms, giving them suggestions on their ranking on the platforms. So everything is done in house. Everything, including our mobile application, everything API, it's all done in house.
Okay. And as the let's say chief engineer, have you worked on developing most of that sort of stuff yourself, given the history that you have in the other companies that you work for? Yeah.
So Final Rentals has two layers of, let's say tech stack, right? So first tech stack, we call it the core salt. The salt is always developed by me, right?
Hmm.
And then it is converted into a meal, into an offering that is done by my tech department, my CTO, my developers. But
Hmm.
whatever you see on Final Rentals, whether you see a front end page or design anything, it was fundamentally always designed by me, right?
Hmm.
Then it was given to my team to, let's say, take it further.
Okay, okay. And do you find obviously as a CEO you wear many hats, and you have to get your hands into all different pieces. Do you find that you still have the time to get stuck into the coding, or is that time less and less these days than it used to be?
So I'll be honest with you, I have stopped coding. It's been almost 2 years now.
Okay.
So I don't code anymore, but I review all the classes, all the JS files. I like reading. I still read a lot of code. I spend 2 hours a day, every single day, to read new code that we generate.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, if I have any suggestion, I can give it to my team. If I see something is not right, or it is not resource friendly, if it will make us pay a lot of money on the cloud, on all those things. So I think I'm more of an optimizer now than a coder in the last 2 years.
Interesting. I am not a tech guy at all, but I tried at one stage to learn a little bit of coding,
Right.
and that's when I found out that I'm not a tech guy. I'm more the talking to people sort of person,
Right.
and it's in some ways an unusual attribute, Ammar, to have somebody like yourself who's super detailed on the coding, but then also has the entrepreneurial spirit, or the way to formulate and really to push the business at the same time. Because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the guy was talking about coding. So when you as a CEO or are coding, you have to be super focused, yeah, and almost you could code for 10 hours of the day, and you're in the zone, yeah.
Yes.
But as a CEO, all these other things are happening around you that need to be taken care of, and all that sort of stuff. So then you end up working 20 hours a day, so you can get an awful lot. So what I'm trying to get at is the sort of mindset that you have, or the way that you work is unusual. Do you think it's unusual, or do you think it's perfectly normal, or do you think that you're slightly different than some other founders, CEOs that you've come across?
I think when it comes to detail, for example, as a tech founder, I think I have some advantages, right? But I would say I was born with them. So, for example, I can code in 10 languages, right?
Okay.
And to be honest, I never learned those languages. I'll be completely honest with you. I think it's like God's gift. Like, you're born with understanding of those, let's say, structures, starting and ending, the code structure, and all those things. So yeah, but business is something that I've learned, I've studied. So I've done my MBA in economics from Milano Polytechnico, right?
Mhm.
That's where I learned the tricks of understanding the supply and demand and all those things. That was incredible. I passed that with distinction. I was chosen to give the grad speech on the MBA day. So all those things, I think I learned but coding I was born with. I never
Mhm.
learned it.
Mhm. That's a gift, Ammar, I must say, because it's like looking at the Matrix for me. That's all I see when I look at it. I can't make head nor tail of what
Well,
you're talking
I completely agree. With what you're saying. Looking at the matrix, for some odd reason, when I look at, let's say, a JavaScript file, or let's say a Java file, or even a normal class with, I don't know, 10 sections. For me, it's like reading a book. You're reading it
about.
and you're like, okay, oh, what about this? And it's like a grammatical error, and you fix it. So
Mm.
for me, I see it very, very differently.
Cool. It's a question that I ask quite often to our P&I team when we talk about optimizing code, and I don't really get it, because I want to get it, but I don't really get it. I go, but somebody wrote it, and they obviously did a good job on writing it in order to do it in a sequence whereby everything is taken care of. Well, how can you then go back again and take out some of the steps in order to make it work quicker? That's something I never really get.
So that is a very interesting, let's say, thought or question. The thing is, when you have no users of the application, let's say you have minimal users, like 10 users at a time, or even 100 at a time, you will never know that the code was written poorly.
Mm-hmm.
So when a code is exposed, when it has traffic, so let's say you're talking about, I don't know, threads per second or 1,000 people visiting your website per second, that's exactly when the real test will start of how good or bad the code was, right? So
Mhm.
so so we have a simple principle in fundamentals, and we say code less. What
Yeah,
do I mean by that is you don't have to write everything
yeah,
simply because you don't need everything all the time. So use minimal objects, limited objects at a time. And once you're able to do that, it's not easy to do that, I'll be honest with you. Once you're easy to do that, I think then what will happen is even if you have a million requests per second, you'll be fine.
mhm. Cool. So something that I hear a lot of recently is the advent of AI
Yeah.
writing code. Um, I've played around with it, and you give a prompt and you tell it what it is that you want to do, and you can see that it writes the code in the background, and you can see what it's doing on the screen. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think about the future of coding when a lay person like myself can ask a machine to code something for me that as far as I could see would work?
So, see, the thing is, with the AI right now, when we talk about AI today, right? Today, AI is nothing but a large language model, right? That is running basically based on some kind of context or information. Okay. So imagine a chat GPT, you ask chat GPT, hey, chat GPT, can you write me a code in React? And I'm making this form which will have 5 fields: name, surname, email, whatever, right? And please write a code for me that the form will be submitted to my email, as an example. So
Hmm.
writing that code is a piece of cake. ChatGPT will write for you in seconds, and you can use it. I would say in future, what will happen is writing the code is not the sexiest thing on earth. It will be optimizing the code,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
writing code is one thing, optimizing is completely different, right? So I think you will find more application analysts who will optimize the code, who will basically optimize that code in a way that it is working within your application, right? And AI today that we talk about is nothing but large language models, where it is using the power of many CPUs and GPUs and giving you information based on what it is trained upon. It can be a training on Spanish, as an example, or on world politics, or on economics,
Mhm.
all the data that it has in context, and then reasoning, of course, on it, of course, right? I think that's where, so AI, even AI today is on a very basic level. I'll be honest with you. I know ChatGPT is very cool, fantastic, DeepSeek, and all those things. Still, you would say we have uncovered 5% of what AI can do.
Yeah,
As of
yeah, yeah. It's there's a new phenomenon that I came across recently. It's called the non-tech founder in the SaaS space. So somebody who has an idea and wants to make it, but isn't the technical person to make it. And there's a lot of talk at the minute about how AI coding tools, and there's a few of them out there that can actually create a web application for you based and optimize it and do all that sort of stuff
Sure.
based on prompts. Um, but personally, I think it's super cool. I think it's very exciting to be able to do that. But um, let's say in the coding world, in sort of software engineers, people wouldn't be afraid of something like that happening or see it as a threat in the future, would they? Or
So one thing that is very important here is to understand the IP, right? The intellectual property, right?
yeah,
So if you have built something, if you have built something, you know the inside out of it, right? So for example, if you have built a Tesla from the ground up, you own the rights to it, isn't it? You own the
yeah,
rights to it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I would say going forward, you will have many issues in terms of IP. Who owns the IP? Who owns the application? Of course, it's an idea. Okay, it's an idea to, let's say, book an Uber on the app, and if you can build that app, using a no-code tool, right? I would say no-code tools are great to some extent. Let's say to
mm,
build an MVP as an example, or to build, let's say, an MVP plus, right? But a no-code tool-based application will not run your business forever,
mhm,
not have that long-lasting, for example, adaptability or acceptability. It will change over time. So no code tool, I love no, but I use quite a few. I love no code tools. There's no problem with that. The only thing is I'm still waiting for a no code tool that will allow you a freedom that you have when you're coding using Xcode, Objective C, making your Apple application, or when you use Visual Basic Sharp application using a Visual or a RAD tool, for example. So no code tools are still, let's say, in a very early stage.
Yeah. But I think it's super interesting to see where that space is going to go in the future, because as you say, we're only scratching the surface.
Yeah, so when I was building application, especially Java, we also had tools. We used to call them rapid application development tools, where they will write some code for you. They'll give you classes. They'll give you the idea of what you can code on. Imagine a JBuilder. We used to have a tool called JBuilder. When I was growing up, we used to have a tool. Of course, then we had Microsoft Visual Basic .NET, Visual Studio, all those tools were also, I would say, almost like a no-code tool. But the good thing about those tools was the code was your ownership. You owned the code.
Yeah.
Right? It was your application. You owned it, right? Again, my question today with a no-code tool is that who owns the code? Number one. Number two is, what's the flexibility here? Because in those days, in those tools, still those tools are relevant, by the way. You can still build and own that whole thing as your own IP and your property. I would say this is something that's still a gray area in no-code tools.
That's a really good point. I'd never actually thought of that at all. If you've asked the AI to create it, but you haven't created it, who owns it? You or whoever owns the AI. I'm sure you've come across it, and I've come across it an awful lot over the last couple of years. Is the talk of AI in revenue management and in car rentals?
Yes.
And I know that's a different podcast. That's not this one. But I'm just curious what you think the implications of AI and how it can affect revenue management or pricing within car rental, or can it replace the humans altogether, or will the human always be the safeguard?
Okay, fantastic. A great question. So I would like to believe in many companies, right? They're now making use of this, AI tools to update or change the rate based on the competitiveness, supply, and demand, and other external factors, flight cancellation, delays, or whatever, right? So I would say problem with car rentals is that we don't have middle class companies. What do I mean by that is we don't have companies who are hybrid in their approach in using technology and then the human aspect. You will come across companies who are very, very tech savvy. They do everything tech. They have self onboarding, everything self, and it's fantastic. Then you'll come across companies who are doing everything manually. Of course, they're using an RMS, but they're very manual sort of a company. It's about the work culture. I think our industry is now dealing with a thing called a culture shift challenge.
Okay.
Because I think we have a culture problem. Many companies, the work culture isn't about I'm going to give the best service. It's about how am I going to make money, out of nowhere, or whatever the reason behind that money making is. I think we need a cultural change across the board, right? And then what will happen if a company is tech savvy? They are ready for automation. They're ready for the CPU to make decisions on their behalf, right? You have to come to that level. That wavelength should match, right? So again, it has incredible future, right? Moving forward, I think the race will be in the next couple of years will be which rate changing tool will not behave similar to another rate changing tool. So imagine a decision making on the same AI model. So same, let's say someone is using Llama, right? And you're also and you're using using Ollama 3.0. So the decision making is almost same. The data set is also the same broker, same website, and I want to be number one. So I think the race is about now finding that small fiber that will help you change the rate or be more competitive. I think we are moving into a very, very interesting next, let's say, 5 years in this space.
Yeah. I think personally, I think the car rental industry is going to go through an awful lot of changes over the next few years. I interviewed somebody we both know a short while ago, Arthur's Zentmans from Rentley, and he's a big believer in AI and how AI is going to sort of change the car rental industry. And I think he's right. I mean, the industry is going to change one way or the other. But I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's the culture within the industry that needs to change.
The see, the problem is, we always think, or I'm sure you also have this, discussion with many companies. We think that this software or this new CPU or this new thing, this machine will change my organization. The funny thing is, organizations are changed by the change in the culture.
Yeah.
A software alone cannot do anything. It's all about leadership. We need more authentic leadership in our industry, where people can call a spade and say, I have this problem, I have to fix it. If you are the problem, you have to fix yourself, right? So I think our industry is not just really about, let's say, AI or a new technology. I think we are going through interesting times where we will also have younger car rental business owners who Gen Z, will come in, and I think they will change this, because our industry really now needs a culture shift, because technology has changed very fast. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Even today, we have incredible technology that will run the whole business itself, right? But are you ready for that? And that requires a change in the culture.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've worked in the car rental industry for around about 20 years, and the tools have got nicer looking, but the core of the industry is still very much the same. We still price in the same way. We still. I don't include myself on this, but the industry tends to believe that if I want to make more revenue, then I have to have more cars. So I need a bigger fleet in order to make more money. And that's something that's just not true. You can, and it was proved after COVID, in various different markets around the world, that you can make more money with less cars, if you do it right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Completely agree with you. And also, I think our industry also needs to learn the art of communication. So what do I mean by that is, I think car rental is the only industry where our rental agents are not trained by a degree or a certification. If you want to be an airline ground staff operator, you have to go through a certification course. If you want to be in the hotel management, you have to learn hotel management, right?
Yeah.
And car rental, as a third pillar of the travel industry, is the only industry where tomorrow my niece and nephew can be a rental agent and be on the desk without having any formal education or any education about the industry, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where we are faltering here, right? We are not really creating professionals who are actually on ground doing the things. There's no protocol that we follow. Every industry, every other business in our travel industry follows a protocol, whether it's hotel, whether it's airline, whether it's experiences. Our industry is the only one that doesn't follow any protocol. Tomorrow, my cousin, my niece can become a rental agent and can be in my business without having a formal certification of being a rental agent or any kind of hospitality, for example. I think a lot needs to be done in that space.
You're dead right, Ammar. Not only tomorrow could your niece or nephew be a rental agent, if they got a loan tomorrow, they could have a car rental company.
Oh, incredible! Yes.
And it is phenomenal. I mean, I'm all about mindset, and I'm all about understanding. So understanding, I always say, is the key to success. So unfortunately, the industry, and it's not confined just to car rental, but it's just an industry that we both know quite well. The understanding of the industry is not there to a large degree, and if you don't understand it, you can't explain it to somebody else, then they can't explain it to somebody else, and then you're into this almost generational non-understanding. So I think that's a phenomenal idea, to have some sort of a formal education in car rental management, let's say, which would include all of the different aspects of it. You said you worked with Enterprise at one stage. Enterprise is the only one that I know that has a formal management development program, because I went
graduate program.
Yeah, I went through it once upon a time.
Yes.
Yeah, and they developed a pretty intense system of teaching everybody every aspect of the car rental business. So I do think that's an interesting one.
So internally we are working on this thing called FRL, Final Rentals Learning. So we are also preparing like a course for, uh, let's say, underdeveloped nations who are our franchisees, who
Mhm.
need education or some kind of final information, giving to them. So I'm working on that internally with, with my team, and I'm really committed to bring it forward. Of course, it will not be as comprehensive as enterprise at the moment, because it doesn't have to be honest, right? But
Yeah.
but I think about these things, in a very, very deeper level, and this makes me concerned at times.
Yeah. So you mentioned culture a couple of times, Ammar, and I'm a big believer that culture comes from the top down. Yeah. So if you want to change a culture within your own organization, let's say, it comes from you. It starts with you at the top and it goes all the way down. So how would you then think about spreading that out to the rest of the industry, and sort of what is the culture within final rentals? What is the core belief of final rentals that you is your why within final rentals?
So we have our internal, framework, right? So we call it the ETA framework. Okay. So empathy, trust, right,
Mhm.
and authenticity, right? So if you have any problem, just speak about it, give feedback. We don't have any hierarchy when it comes to making a wrong a right, right?
Mhm.
So how it works is we are a team of multiple people spanning over, four continents. Some people are working in Philippines, some are working in Spain, Turkey, Dubai, Pakistan, India, of course, in Cardiff, and there's no disparity between a remote employee or a person on the ground or in the office, right? So that's empathy, with equality, right? And
Mhm.
other thing is, you have to give all the information to your partner, to your customer, to your supplier, right? If that hasn't happened, you haven't followed the culture of final rentals. So we like to build trust, and trust comes from honesty, sincerity, that you are sincere about a cause, right? So we have built that culture, and that is following across, all the continents. We do not owe a single penny to a customer, whether it's for cancellation or a no-show. We give the money back,
Mhm.
right? Why? Because that is not my revenue. The revenue that I haven't served, it's not my revenue, right? It's a very, very simple, idea that we have, in the business. Again, we are not, the largest, but I think the culture that we have, will help us become one of the prominent, let's say, in the industry.
Yeah. I like that very much. The ETA, I think that's good. Empathy, trust, and authenticity. Is that what you said? Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the mid noughties, I started working for Enterprise in Ireland, and at the time, Enterprise was in 5 different countries. So it was the US, Canada, Ireland, England, and Germany. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ethos, or the culture in the company at that stage was, we don't want to be the biggest, we want to be the best.
Right.
Yeah. and
Right.
and by being the best, you become the biggest. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
that's very much what happened with Enterprise. I mean, it's now, without a shadow of a doubt, it's the biggest car rental company in the world.
Absolutely is. And I have great, admiration, respect for the likes of, Enterprise, for example, Europe Car, even Sixt, Avis Budget Group, $50. I'm almost like an alumni coming from the ecosystem, who who learned, or who was given the opportunity to learn enough to actually build its own, or build his own car rental brand. So yeah, I have incredible respect, for those companies.
And what is your goal, Ammar, now for final rentals? Is it to I won't say worldwide domination, but is it is it to grow in that particular, like, sort of become even more worldwide? I know you said you're in a lot of different countries already.
Yeah.
Um,
So we are in 51 countries at the moment, and counting. So my goal for fundamentals is I want to build the most effective car rental ecosystem in the world. And I didn't use the word biggest or biggest. Why I'm saying effective, because car rentals is one industry where you have a lot of noise ratio. Signal to noise ratio is very high. Cancellations ratios. You don't serve the customer, something goes wrong, right? So I want to build the most effective car rental ecosystem where the degree of failure is almost zero, right? If it's final rentals, it's final, done. It's that's it, right? So the seal of excellence or symbol of trust, right? That's my vision. I want to build my brand in a way that it's a symbol of trust.
Mhm.
Don't worry, it's final rentals. It's sorted.
Mhm.
I want to take it to that level, whatever it takes. Whether it takes finding new partners, changing partners, something doesn't work, upholding the standards, being ruthless on quality, all those things are a part of our ecosystem. Yeah, I want to build the most effective current brand on earth. That's what I want to do.
That's a lofty goal. That's what my mentor Bob Proctor would call that a type C goal. That's the big, what I call a hairy, scary goal, which is the one that you really want. You don't know how you're going to do it yet, but you know that's the one that you're aiming for. Um, we're coming up on out of time, and I really appreciate all the time that you've shared and the stories that you've shared with us, Ammar. Obviously, the concept behind the Think2Thrive podcast is to help people to think differently in order to thrive, to share your experience through a story, to inspire somebody else who might be sitting at home going, well, if Ammar has done it and he's come from humble beginnings and now he has his own car rental company in 50 plus countries around the world, well, maybe my dream isn't so far-fetched. Maybe I can do it too. What advice would you give to somebody? I won't say 17-year-old you, because at 17 you already had your own business, but to another 17-year-old sitting at home at the moment listening to this, in order to go after their dreams.
So I would say, when I was starting, when I was 17 years old, I had the fraction of the tools that you have available today in your hand, right? There was no WhatsApp, there was no Instagram, no TikTok, there was no AI, for example. So you guys have the biggest opportunity and have a head start versus what I had, right? What you guys don't have and what I had in that time is focus
Mm-hmm.
and less distraction, right? So and that's a very, very big challenge. So focus will solve all your problems, no matter how big a problem is, right? If you stay focused and you believe in it, right? Some people fail, some people are successful. Sometimes it all comes down to staying focused
Mm-hmm.
for long enough, for long enough, right? Some people just leave that and they're just very close to the goal, very close to success, and they leave it just at 98% stage, right? So being in that zone for long enough, right? I think, yeah, focus and just give it time, and trust yourself, trust your passion, trust your gut, trust your instinct, because in the end, you take an example of any big business that has been big. The one thing that you will encounter is, one is, of course, they trusted, they were possessed, like within that zone of vision, for example, and stay in there for long enough. It is not a 100-meter sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah, and what focus is a phenomenal tip, but as you say, with the world and the distractions that we have today, how do you still remain focused? How do you keep it clear in your mind what your goal is and what you need to do to achieve it?
So you have 1,000 people telling you otherwise, okay? And you will get it from your colleagues. You'll get it from the people who work with you, maybe your subordinates, people from the board, investors, right? And you'll be tested every single day. Amma, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? It is as a founder, in your head, sometimes your head will tell you the right thing and say, stay in there. It's all right. Or a lot of people came to me and said, why don't you open final rentals luxury or lux and offer supercars?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can do it tomorrow. It's absolutely no problem. I will spin off another web page. We'll have a different database. Let's do this. But the honest thing is, that's a different industry. That's altogether a different customer base. That's a different demographic. That's a different thing, right? Different business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So staying focused means that you know exactly where it will take you, right? and you don't know exactly when and how, but you know exactly where where you're going, right? Right. So I always tell myself, listen, just go back to 2005 when there was no distraction, right? So I have, for some reason, I have always kept the original version of me intact somewhere, and I
Mhm.
use it when I need it.
You step in your time machine, you go back to 20
Exactly.
years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
And what role, or if any, do you think mindset plays in being successful or not being successful? And what first of all, say, what does mindset mean to you?
It's such a beautiful question, and it's very very close to my heart, by the way. So I was in this panel discussion, and there's a guy who asked, what do you have as an entrepreneur? What do you have? Of course you have money, you have now investors, you have everything, but still, what you have, if you have nothing in the world, what do you have? And I told them, I only have one thing that is my capital for me, is my mindset.
Hmm.
Right? So as a founder, as an entrepreneur, that's all you have, Adrian. The mindset of being crazy, being the voice of the crazy, this wilderness, that I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a bad example, but Alexander the Great died at the age of 32, right? And he conquered almost half of the world.
Hmm.
32 years old, almost conquered half of the world, right? Imagine his mindset. What would
Yeah.
his mindset be, right? So all we have as change makers, thinkers, we have the mindset. Honestly, we have nothing else really. That's all we have. All else is just a tool. It's just a
Yeah.
peripheral, to be honest. It's a
Yeah.
mindset. For me, mindset is everything. The moment you muddle with that mindset or you do some kind of contamination, you're done.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes ever, and I can never remember who said it, but it's success is 5% systems, 95% mindset. Um,
100%. Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Because the problem with success is that success is actually not what you know. Success is what you are told. So you will have many people who tell you, "Oh man, you're doing a great job. It's fantastic. I love this. Why don't you come to my show? Why don't you come to this talk? Why don't you go there?" Right? And you realize all these things are actually fundamental elements or small elements of success, or being success, for example, being successful. So for me, success is keeping your original, honest, humble mindset intact, right? And the mindset that you have, right, it's not changing, right? And sometimes the mindset makes you the innovator. The difference between a person who creates, who's a who's a creator, or a user, is actually nothing but a mindset.
yeah. And you mentioned belief also. I mean, belief is a huge part of it. You can't achieve anything at all until you believe that you can. And the belief stems again from your mindset, or from your self image, really, the image that you have of yourself within yourself, that you are able to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's really cool. Um, I ask all my guests, Ammar, for a book recommendation, and there's two reasons for this. One is, obviously it's great to give book recommendations to people, but I'm a bit of a book nerd. I like reading books, and it's to grow my own library. So a lot of the ones that I've asked people about, I've subsequently gone out and bought. So, do you have the Bible according to Ammar when it comes to business?
So honestly speaking, I cannot say that it's a Bible, but as I mentioned to you, my approach to business is very old school, like simple living and high thinking. So I like to read biographies or autobiographies of older, let's say businessmen and entrepreneurs, like let's say JP Morgan, JD Rockefeller, how they built their business. It's insane without having those resources that we have today. So there's a book I read, it's called The Titan. It's a biography of JD Rockefeller and his
Mhm.
Rockefeller habits. And an extension of this book is called Scale Up: How to Scale Up with Those Habits, right? And I think that book is very interesting, almost like a story. It's brilliant how people have built, who are not alive anymore, unfortunately, but they have built such huge giants that we call them old money, for example, right? And yeah, how these guys built these things, it's just insane. And yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. Even coming from my part of the world, like Tata, the Tata sons, Ratan Tata, he died recently. How he built it, maybe Dhirubhai Ambani, who built Reliance. It's just insane how these guys have built. And one thing you'll find again that we have talked about, mindset.
Mhm.
They were just wild enough to think that they can just do this, and they've done
Yeah.
it.
It's that belief. I can do it. No matter what, I can do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ammar, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Promise.
I'm sure our listeners would get a whole lot out of it. They really will. And it's an incredible story that you've shared from your beginnings to where you are now to where you see yourself going in the future. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
It is my honor. Thank you very much, Adrian, and I think we have had incredible discussion. And thank you for asking all those beautiful and in-depth questions. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks a million, and have a great evening.
Cheers. You too.